Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me yet again. 2:30 on Wednesday afternoon. It's always webinar time, which is good. Good news. Hopefully, we've just got a few more people joining the room, so hopefully we'll be underway in a moment or two. So I'll do a bit of waffle whilst people come in and join us. So thank you very much for joining me. I can see the list of people, lots of people that have been here before, and lots of new names as well, which is really interesting. And actually, I can see already probably more people have joined us today than we've had in all of this kind of stream of tips and tricks sessions that we do, which is fantastic news. Just for those of you that are new, this is really all about the Microsoft technology stack. And every week or two, we focus in on a couple of the apps that are available underneath the Microsoft 365 umbrella and just kind of expose them to you, because you're probably very aware of the Word, Excels and PowerPoints and Outlook and all the things that we use day to day, but you may not be aware there are a sea of other applications which do various bits and pieces, and they're included largely within your Office 365 licensing. So it's important to have visibility of them. You may or may not use some of the things that I talk about today, but hopefully if you hit a roadblock in some point in the future, gives you that opportunity to go, I saw something about that, we can go and explore this particular app, and hopefully it doesn't cost you a lot of money to go and do. So as always, we are going to talk through today 3 things, and in a week or two we'll talk about 3 different things. We've done lots of these sessions already, so those of you that are new, there are, if you go to tmtech.co.uk/resources, you'll find all of the other tips and tricks sessions that we've done around all sorts of other bits and pieces, whether that's Power BI, whether that's kind of Word and Excel and PowerPoint in more detail. There's some stuff in there about Copilot and AI if you're interested in that stuff. But today we're focusing on Stream, Outlook and Whiteboard. Hopefully most of you use Outlook day to day, but you may not be aware of Stream. If you are used to using Teams and you record your meetings inside a team or a team conversation, you may be aware that that gets recorded in Stream. But I want to show you some of the other bits around that. And also Whiteboard, which is a kind of collaborative space for lots of people to collaborate, work on. And we're just going to give you a few tips and tricks on how to use Whiteboard, really. So quite simple stuff. And then we'll cover it again in another session where we go into a bit more detail. We will be showing you where you can go and get some more information. And obviously, as always, I'm always open to questions. Sadly, I can't see them as I'm talking. So if you want to just fire questions into the chat as we go through this, what we'll do at the end, we'll leave a bit of time and we can sit there and go through all the questions and see if I can answer them. So feel free to test me if you want, but I'll give it my best shot. If not, I'll ask somebody else. So we are a couple of minutes in, we might as well get underway. So we're going to start today then talking about Microsoft Stream. So when people ask me what is Stream, my immediate answer is it's like YouTube, but for your business. Okay, the information, it's all about storing videos. It's all about transcribing, which we'll talk about a bit in a moment. But really importantly, as I mentioned a moment ago, it's where our Teams recordings go. It's where our meeting recordings go. It's where we can then go back, and we had a meeting and we need to go back and look at what somebody said. Maybe you're having a conversation with a customer. Maybe you're agreeing some sort of legal requirement. Maybe you want to get that recorded. Now, you don't have to record the video. You can just record what's said using something called transcription in Microsoft Teams. We covered that in a previous session, but this is where it's going to end up. So what I want to go through then is just firstly, how do you get to Stream? So this is Office 365. It may not be kind of front and center for you because unless you use it all the time, it will kind of disappear behind the scenes a bit. So if you click on the little waffle and go to more apps, it may be in that little list across the top. If not, you click on all apps, and these are all the apps that you can talk about. Okay, and this is Stream. So you can see here that these are lots of recordings there. There's lots of conversations that I've had with my team, my stand-ups, bits and pieces like that, so that I can go back and reference those conversations. I'm just going to pick one of the videos. This is something I uploaded, which is a video of our webinar that we did about this time last year around Copilot. And that's important to note, is that Stream isn't just about Teams recordings. I can put my own videos in there. I can put training videos in there. I can put anything I like as a video format up into Stream, and importantly, share it with people. But now it looks like YouTube, doesn't it? We can just jump around. We can scroll around inside my video. It will play that back. It will play the audio back, obviously, as well. And I can hop around and watch my video from start to end if I wanted to, okay? Importantly, I can share that with people. Now, that doesn't have to be inside my business. It can be external. I can create something called an embed code. So maybe what I want to do is take my embed code and put that in my website. What that means is that I'm serving up the videos that are on our website from Microsoft Stream. And that's important, and we'll come back to it in a minute, but I get lots of analytical data. So rather than me having to go and log into YouTube because I've hosted my video on YouTube, I want to see how many people watch my video on my website, I can keep that information, keep that corporate data, shall we call it, in terms of the video file, and I can store that inside Office 365, and it doesn't kind of leave my environment again. So if you're looking at GDPR, you're looking at making sure you've got governance over the data that's available. You want to make a quick change and edit a tweak, delete something, trim the video. All of that can be done within Office 365 without needing to go to YouTube or go and get a YouTube premium account and all that kind of jazz. Okay, so the ability to share and the ability just to watch those videos. So let's dig in a little bit deeper then. So what we do have within Stream is this ability to transcribe. Okay, so this is a video that we uploaded, and what Stream's done is gone and taken all the words that I said in the video and transcribed it into text. So now when I scroll around that transcription, I click on blocks of text, it will skip me straight to that part of the video. So if I know that I was talking about a certain thing earlier, I can just click on that and it will take me straight there. What I can also do is search that transcription. Now I know that in this video I talked about a chap called Sam Altman. Okay, so I can type Altman into the search box and you can see it's highlighted it, taking me straight to that part, and I click on it and the video skips straight to Sam Altman, which is great. Okay, doesn't mean I'm about to sit there for an hour watching something. I also know I talked about prompting. So you can see in the scroll bar down the side, there's little black dots. That's everywhere where I've said the word prompting in my video. Okay, I can now jump around and find the bit that I was trying to find. So there's a section in here where I talk about various rules around prompting. So I can go, yeah, that's not it. That wasn't the one I was after. Ah, there it is, the science of prompting. Here are the 6 things that Scott talked about in that video. So very, very, very powerful, because if you think about that and we apply that to our Teams meetings, let's say you're having a chat with somebody in a Teams meeting, you had it recorded, and I know that Sam said to me a few weeks ago that there was some effort being done on a new marketing campaign, okay? And it was the campaign XYZ. Now I can come to Stream, I can do a search for campaign XYZ, and it's going to turn me the videos as well as the exact locations where someone was having a conversation about campaign XYZ. So it allows me to get to my data. I can listen to that conversation. I can understand what people were doing. And bear in mind, this is not Copilot that you're watching here, right? This is just Stream out of the box. Copilot takes this to a whole nother level where we can understand sentiment and we can understand action points and minuting and minute our meetings, etc., etc. So this is not Copilot, but if you've done this, been on these sessions with me before, we don't get through a session without me talking about Copilot and AI. But this is just basic Stream functionality we're looking at here, okay? So next piece to point out is that we've got a bunch of ways of organizing this stuff as well. So firstly, I can just download the video. So if I need to take a copy offline because I need to go and stand at a customer's site and present something maybe, I can just copy it. I can favorite it and unfavorite it. So again, maybe in a sales capacity, got a pitch deck that I always use, got some videos in it, I want to favorite those. And they'll appear at the top. But the bit I want to draw your attention to is these playlists, okay? I can store a playlist in a team site. I can stick it in my own list, my own private lists. So here I'm creating a new playlist. I'm going to call it webinars. If I can spell, you'll notice that about me as well. Get it wrong all the time. But here I'm going to save it to my lists. That's a personal playlist for me, or I can save it in a team so this playlist is available for other people within a team. Think about why you might do that, potentially training. So if you've got a load of training videos, you might stick them all in a playlist. Okay, and then you can actually just kind of sit and go through a bunch of videos. Maybe there's a whole bunch of sales and marketing activity that we have, videos. Again, we can put them in a playlist. So once I've done that, I'm going to go and create webinars, click OK. And after a minute or two, it's going away now, creating something called a Microsoft list. Right? And we're going to cover that again at some point in the future. But it will say in the top right corner, add it to the playlist. Let's go and view that. All right, and what we're going to end up with is something, again, that looks quite YouTubey. And there's obviously a reason behind that. But you can see on the right-hand side, we'll have the video. And on the left-hand side, we've got video number 1 in my playlist. And as I had more, they'd be underneath it. And I can just click through and watch all these videos in a particular list. So great, as I say, probably most useful there for training purposes, right? When you want to get people through a training program. and they need to go and watch a playlist. That makes a lot of sense. So playlists, favoriting, downloading the video. Let's go on to the next one very quickly. We've also got the ability to record. Okay, so this isn't just a repository for storing videos. It also gives us some tools to actually record our own videos and save them straight into Stream. So here I'm going to record my screen and I'm going to kind of stick my picture on it. Now you can see that wrong angle, horrible angle. So I'm going to change my camera. So this is all very similar to Teams. You know, if you're used to going into the settings in Teams and changing your camera and your audio and that sort of stuff. So I've changed my camera. Okay, I can do some jazzy little background things for those of you that are in the education sector and things like that. You might want to glam that up. I can turn my camera off. I can turn my mic on. I don't have to have my camera on if I'm doing a screen recording. And then I share my screen and it asks me what I want to share. Again, look at this. It's very similar to Teams. Am I going to share a window, my whole screen? I pick what I'm going to share and it gives me a little countdown, 3, 2, 1. And we've got the ability to start typing away. Okay, so now sharing my Word document, no problem at all. I'm going to go and tab around in some bits and pieces for the sake of demonstration. And off we go. But my head keeps moving to the side, right? I keep looking away. I'm not very happy with that part. Right at the beginning of the video, I'm not looking there. So potentially what I want to do is use some of the other tools that we have within this video editing platform. You can see that I can trim. Okay, so if I click on trim, these little purple bars appear. And I can just drag the video in either end and just cut the bit out in the middle if that's the useful bit. I choose OK, hit finish. It's gone green for me here. Don't worry, it does that sometimes. So, but it actually is absolutely fine. And you prepare the video, you click next, and it will go and kind of basically encode that video, okay, and compile it, save it, and put it up into Stream, and it becomes a video very, very quickly that I can then share with other people. They can gain access, and importantly, share externally if I need to. You know, again, I can let people into our environment, into 365 to view that video, but only select people rather than me having to put it on YouTube for the whole world to see. I can just invite maybe different third parties to come in and watch a briefing video or briefing introduction or about a project kickoff or whatever it might be. Okay. Other little settings we've got on the side there, we've got the ability to change the thumbnail. So, so I can effectively go edit a thumbnail, point to a particular minute in the video that I'm happy with and save it. That becomes the new thumbnail for the video. Lots of other things in there, transcribing again, so we can transcribe that information so it grabs all the text and pulls it out of the video. Brilliant when I want to search it, as we did earlier. Also really great for Copilot and AI because it can then go and read that transcription and actually provide information back to the wider organization. But this is the important bit, analytics. You know, we can also get a view of how many people have watched the video, when did they watch it, how long were they engaged for. Brilliant. Again, I made a point a moment ago about putting that on your website. So actually, you're going to get all those analytics about who played your video by sticking it in Stream. And then the last piece really there is chapters. So if I've got a long video and I want to break it down into bite-sized chunks, I can create chapters. And at the bottom one there, I said I've talked about Word and it's 5 seconds into this video. And that's saved as a chapter. So when someone comes and watches this video, they'll have an option of chapters down the side and they can just skip between the chapters, okay, in the video. So a lot of these tools, if you've ever used YouTube, or if you've ever created videos, or you're in a marketing capacity or video editing capacity, this will be very familiar to you. And it does probably 95% of what a small business requires, in all honesty. So if you want to get into the real kind of other end of it in terms of doing loads and loads of analytics and loads of stuff around video editing, there's probably better tools, let's be honest about it. But for most SMEs, this is probably going to tick the box. So the last thing I want to show is I say that, and I say that it's kind of not, it's not an amazing video editing platform. Well, there is something called Clipchamp, which again comes within your Microsoft 365 environment. What I can do here is take any video I've got in Stream and bring it up into Clipchamp, which is basically a video editing platform, similar to the tools like Adobe and other various free tools that are out there or may be paid for. If you are paying for those tools, I encourage you to come and have a look at Clipchamp. Now, it's not an Adobe platform, I'm not going to lie, but it allows us to grab videos, drag videos in, stitch videos together, put introductions, fades. You have various layers within your timeline, so you can put audio tracks over the top, bits underneath. So it's a pretty good video editing platform in all honesty, and it's all done in the cloud, and it's all part of your 365 license that you're probably already paying for. So actually, ask yourself a question: if you're paying loads and loads of money for Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro, or something along those lines, where you're doing lots of editing, then you might find that you don't need all those advanced features, and actually you can just use Clipchamp within your Microsoft license already and save yourself a bit of money. So we will talk about Clipchamp in a bit more detail in another session because it's quite a big product, lots of things that we can do. So and it's quite specialist. So we'll talk about it in the future, and if that's of interest, we encourage you to come and join us and go through some of those things. So now that was stream. So just for those of you that are new to this, we do go through this at quite a lot of pace. All right, there's a reason for that, just because we want to cram as much stuff as we possibly can in. Don't worry though, as I mentioned at the beginning, we do record these, and we can put, or this will be up on our website. You can go back, watch that video, slow it down, jump to the bits that you're interested in. So don't panic too much, okay? So, but we are going to go at quite a bit of pace today. Right, Outlook. We've done this one before, but so many of you asked me to do it again that we're doing some of these videos on you, and some of them are the ones that you've seen before. So I apologise if you have, but it seemed to be quite interesting to a lot of people, and we were asked to run it again. So we've done it again. So Outlook we all use day to day. Really what we're looking at here is just a few features within the Outlook platform that maybe you do or don't use. Again, some of you might know some of this, some of you probably don't. So first thing to talk about is mentions, okay? So this is a brand new email that I've just opened up here. And the point of a mention is as soon as I start using this and I write an @ symbol, it comes up the drop down of all the people that are in my organization, and I can go and pick somebody. And then I can say, so in this scenario, I'm picking on Sam. There's a theme here. It's always Sam. We pick on Sam, and I'm asking him to do something. When I send this mail, what will happen? A couple of things will occur. He'll get a notification because I've mentioned him. So I've @ something to him within the Microsoft platform. He may get an email. He may get a pop-up. It might appear in Teams. All sorts of things that we can do. And it will also stick him into the to field at the top. Now, what I've secondly done within this email is something called a loop component, okay? I've added a loop component from the menu at the top. And a loop component is an embedded dynamic piece of content, okay? We talked about loop components in the previous session, but what we're getting at here is this is a bunch of email or a bunch of tasks that Sam and I need to communicate on, all right? Now, typically, if I didn't have a loop component, Sam would send me an email saying, here's a bunch of tasks we need to work on. I'd send him an email back saying, yeah, no worries at all. I'm going to do task number 1 or task number 2 in that scenario. Can you do task number 1 and task number 3? And then he'd come back sort of a day later saying, right, I've done task number 1. And I'll reply saying, great, brilliant, well done, superb. And before I know it, I've got 18 emails about one thing. And I don't need to do that. I can use a loop component. What that allows me to do is to create a list of tasks, and it's dynamic. Every time I go back into that email, if Sam's completed a task, he will open his email and tick a box, or tick the little to-do list, and he'll say, I've done this thing. And when I open that email, that part of my email will have changed. It will have updated to show me that Sam's done that thing. So it cuts down on all the backwards and forwards, all right? It trims down and neatens up our inbox because it's dynamic. And I can also lift these loop components and copy them out and put them in Teams and put them in a chat. I can also put them in a Word document. I can put them all over the Microsoft environment, okay, and allow other people to come in and use whichever tool they're comfortable with. If you work out of Teams all the time, you're going to fill in a loop component in Teams. But somebody else doesn't use Teams, they use Outlook all the time. Therefore, this component is exactly the same thing in Outlook, and it all goes back to the same place, and the data is the same, and it's live and it's dynamic. So they're really powerful things. They're fairly, well, they're not fairly new. They have been around a while, but lots of people aren't aware of them, okay? So if that's of interest, I encourage you to go back and watch our previous session. We talked about loop components, right? Go into a lot more detail around that. So next thing to do really is scheduling a meeting. We do that all the time, okay? So you can see here I'm in my calendar, and what I need to do is I need to book a marketing meeting with some of the marketing team, okay? But I don't know when they're all available. So scheduling assistant, this is something that lots of us use quite commonly today. So we're gonna go marketing catch up, okay? I'm gonna turn it into a Teams meeting by clicking on Teams meeting and schedule that meeting. Gives me a load of Teams information underneath, fantastic. And then I go to this tab here called scheduling assistant, and within there, it shows my diary, okay? Underneath my name, if I start to type in the other members of this meeting that I need to invite, I'm gonna go and add Sam, I'm gonna go and add Louise, and it starts to show me their diaries, and it shows me the available time, okay? So where things are blocked out at the top here, all those dark boxes mean that that's not an ideal time to try and book the meeting, but anywhere there isn't, all of that space looks pretty clear for all of us. So I can click on that area, select a time frame I want to put my meeting in. You can see that the time now changed at the top from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, and I send that off, and it basically books as a meeting. So that's one quick way of doing it. Scheduling Assistant, really, really handy. I'm sure many of you use that already. Some people aren't aware that it's there. But there is a new way of doing it, and that's called a scheduling poll. So rather than me making the assumption that Sam and Louise are going to be available at 12:30, might be out going having lunch, let's say, I want to ask them. Okay, so this way of doing it, and this is a scheduling poll, is I go and effectively I start by checking an email. So Sam said here, right, just a quick one. Can we schedule a meeting to discuss our marketing plans for Q3? No problem at all. I'm not sure when everyone's available again, let's say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everybody to vote for a time that's suitable. So I go up to the right, I go to new scheduling poll, and it gives me a bunch of options, a date, and then some options around time. And these are times when the people in the thread are all available. So I say, right, okay, should we do 5:15 or 5:30? I get a few options at the bottom around different things, different settings and whatnot. We won't go into those now. Okay, and when I'm happy, I create a poll. And what that does is pushes a special link into the email. And then I send that, and everybody gets that email. And when they're happy, they click on vote and they choose a time that suits them. So I hit send, that's now gone off. They're going to click on it, they're going to vote for a time that makes sense. Now, how do I get back to that poll? I go and click on reply. Now I've got an option there for view all your polls. This will then show me a list of all the scheduling polls I've got out there. Click on the marketing meeting. And you can see here, a little bit complicated, so I'll talk you through this one. We've got the 3 times, 5, 5:15 and 5:30. In the middle there, we've got Sam and Louise. They haven't responded to this because obviously I'm doing a demo. If they'd voted, I'd have a little tick next to their name and next to the time that we've got available. And then I can choose to schedule a meeting. Now, if, let's say, Sam and Louise both agree that 5 o'clock is the right time, it will just automatically book the diary for 5 o'clock because more than half the people in the vote have decided on a time. Suits more than half the people, that generally makes sense. Or I can just come in and override it and say, actually, no, something's over at 5, and we do it at 5:30 now. Okay, I'm going to keep you all back for 20 minutes or so you have a meeting, which I'm sure they'll love. So, so I can just schedule that meeting myself. So this is a poll. All right, difference between scheduling assistant is where I make that decision. Scheduling poll is I'm going to send an email out. Great for things like company meetings, maybe. What's the best time for everybody to do? I don't want to just make an assumption. Everybody make a decision. If you haven't all made a decision in the next sort of day or so, then I'm just going to make the call. But actually, if most people come back and say Thursday afternoon's best do Thursday afternoon. Okay, so they have their place. They're really, really powerful. They're fairly new, but a feature that probably a lot of people don't use within Outlook at the moment. Right, next one, categories. I've got loads of emails. I've got loads of emails all over the place. I'm not really sure how to sort them, how to organize them, how to kind of get visibility of the content that's within it. Now, we are possibly used to flagging an email, where you put a little flag next to it and a little tick box once you've done that task. You flag it, it becomes a task or becomes a to-do. But what I want to show you here is something called a category. So with categories, what we have is I've got all my emails, and underneath tags, there's something called categorize. And I've created a bunch of categories here. So I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it urgent. So urgent tasks, let's say, right? I want to change the color of that. I want it to be red or something so that I know that they're urgent tasks. And I click on OK. Now, when I right-click on my emails and I go to categorize, I can select what type of email this is. Maybe I've read the email. I'm not going to react to it straight away. I know that this one here has definitely come from a recruiter. This one's definitely come from a recruiter. And you can see that we're zipping through here for the sake of speed. And I'm organizing my emails based on category, okay? The purpose being that I can then sort at the top. Normally your emails are sorted by date, but I can click the little drop down where it says by categories or by date, and I can change it. So I can say sort by all sorts of things. Now I'm sorted by category. Now I know that all of my recruitment things I can leave till later, but my urgent tasks I need to deal with straight away. The stuff that I've got from X, Y, and Z department needs dealing with later on this afternoon. And maybe I can do a bit of prioritization. Or maybe this is an archive mailbox, right? And actually, I want to categorize things so I can go back and find them later on easily. Of course, you can still use folders. You can still do all that sort of stuff. So down the side, if you're used to using folders and nested folders, you can move these things into folders and they hold their categories. That doesn't matter. And of course, we've all still got the functionality to go and add flags, to add reminders, to add so let's say I flag that for this week. It will go deep red by the end of the week, and it will possibly remind me that I need to do that task. So it's still very much there. Categories is just another way of sorting and trying to get your mailbox organized. Okay. So next one, we are talking about rules now. So what are we doing when we need to, let's say I'm busy, right? And I've had an email come in, and maybe I'm in a meeting and I want something automatic to happen inside my mailbox so that I'm available. All right. So I'm still responding, I'm still acting. I get lots and lots of emails, okay, all the time. I moan about recruiters all the time, but I get lots of emails from people external to the business, from internal inside the business. But a lot of those emails probably don't actually require my involvement. So let's say I get an email in from a third party supplier, and it's got the word invoice in it, and it's got a PDF attached to it. Well, the chances are it's not me that's going to be sorting that out. Maybe I've got to prove it, perhaps. But chances are it just needs to go straight to the finance team. And I'm losing 2 or 3 minutes of my day every time I get one of those emails, because actually I've got to look at it. I open the PDF up and I go, oh, okay, is this to do with me? No, probably not. I just send it to finance. I'm just a human kind of part of that process where I'm getting an email and then I'm sending the email on. I'm probably not involved in it. So I probably need something that just automatically deals with that for me. So I want to create a rule. In this scenario, we're going to create a rule that's going to make me look amazing to my boss. All right. So here we are. I've come into File and I go down to Manage Rules and Alerts, and I'm going to create a new rule. And a rule allows us to do things, either to get organized, to stay up to date, or to add a blank role. Lots of things that we can do in there, like sending alerts to my mobile, flagging mails. But I'm going to start with applying a rule on messages that I receive. So now every email that comes into my mailbox, I'm going to do something with. I've then selected from particular people, and I'm going to go in and put my boss in. All right, so I put our CEO in there. No problem at all. Now I want to look good for my CEO. So the next step is that's who the email's from. I'm now going to say, what do you want to do with that email when you receive an email from Darren? Well, this time I could choose to delete it. I'll probably get in loads of trouble if I did that. But actually, what I want to try and do is find something that maybe makes me reply really quickly. Let's make it appear like I'm on it, I'm all over it, and I'm trying to be as proactive as I possibly can. So I'm going to choose to have a server reply using a specific message. So what we then end up with is a blank email. So now I'm going to type, right, Darren's name in, no problem at all. I'm going to put a subject in it. I'm going to put on it, no worries at all. And in the body, I'm going to write, yeah, boss, no worries, I'm all over it. Okay. So that means that every time Darren sends me an email, it hits my mailbox, it's going to reply with that message saying, I'm on it. Looks like I'm in control. And then I might want an exception, because actually if he emails me, but the email isn't to me, maybe I'm just CC'd into it, because actually the action is for somebody else to do something. I've just got visibility of it. Well, I don't want to reply saying I'm on it, because then it looks like I'm being a bit forward, right? So I can choose to exclude the emails where I'm CC'd in. Last thing, little catcher at the end there, is run this rule on mailboxes, on messages already in my inbox. If you tick that, it will go through every single email you've ever received historically. So if I did that with this rule, Darren would receive hundreds and hundreds of emails with me saying I'm on it for all the emails that he sent me for the last few years. So we want to make sure we don't tick that. But of course, if I'm tidying my mailbox up, maybe I want to remove all the emails from a particular person. That's a great way of doing it. Create a mailbox rule. It says emails that I've received. The caveat will be from a particular person, or maybe from a particular domain name or business. And then the action will be just delete. Okay, or move to a folder or archive or flag maybe. And then tick that box at the end, and it will run through your whole mailbox and tidy it all up. Remove all those messages, move them around, do whatever you need to do. So mailbox rules are really, really powerful. Obviously now, when Darren sends me that email, I'm going to look great, no problem at all. And it looks like I'm all over it and I'm busy, and actually I've got my feet up. But if you know me, then you know I won't be putting my feet up. So next one. What do we do around quick steps? All right, this is a new feature. Lots of people don't use quick steps. It's a bit like a mailbox rule, but rather than it just automatically happening or being triggered when an email is received or when I send an email or something like that, I want to manually do a bunch of tasks without me actually having to go there and click down and do all these things. So as I mentioned earlier, I get lots of emails from recruiters. So Max here sent me an email. Hi Scott, hope you're doing well. I'm interested in how very lots of new perspectives, welcome, priority, blah, 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 blah. Right. Okay. We don't use recruiters. So, but I want to be able to go back and just remove that out of my mailbox. So what I'm going to do is create something called a quick step. in the middle of my ribbon at the top there on home, I've got something called quick steps. I can then go and create all sorts of things: keep, manager, team email, done, create a new one. I'm going to create a new custom quick step. Go and have a play with this and you'll find out more about other things. And I'm going to put create a quick step called reply to recruiter. And then I want a couple of things to happen. You can see that I can choose an action and add more actions underneath it. Might be lots of things that need to happen here. I'm just going to choose to delete the message. Okay, so I'm going to go delete the message. Now I might stop there, but I'm quite a nice person. I want to send him an email as well saying that thanks for your email, but no thanks, politely. So I want to choose to reply, show some more options, and within the text area, I'm going to put a bit of text in saying that thank you for your email. Unfortunately, we have our own recruitment team, but please feel free to contact them at recruitment@technopaid. Okay, so now what's going to happen is when I receive an email, or if I receive an email and I right click and quick step it, it's going to delete the email and send a reply. So let's do that. Okay, we've got this task there now called reply to recruiter. So I've selected the email, go to the quick step, and I click on reply to recruiter. And what we'll see is Max's email gets removed, and Max just automatically got a reply from me saying, look, thanks, mate, but no thanks. And that way, I don't have to keep sitting there replying to all these recruiters, because morally I'm trying to be a nice person and reply to everybody individually. Now, can you imagine? It would have taken me 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of my day just to reply to that email, and I'll probably get 20 of those a day. So actually, that takes out a huge amount of my day just being nice and polite. And actually, I can do that through a quick step through 1 or 2 clicks. Now, expand your mind into other things you can do there with flagging, emailing off, sending to various people. Think about processes in your business where actually you're sitting there and you're typing the same thing out all the time, and you're copying and pasting text into an email that goes back to a customer or one of your colleagues. You can template that. You can just use it as a quick step, okay? And it can do all the things it needs to go off and do. So, next one, we are going to talk about delayed sends. Okay, so this is something I get asked all the time, and I just want to put it out there into the ether so we know how to do that. I'm going to send an email. Okay, I'm going to create an email, but I don't want to send it till 5 o'clock tonight. Or I sent an email. I made a mistake on it. I need to be able to delete it quickly before it went out to everybody. And I want to recall an email. Recalling an email is not always very successful. So there is another better way of doing it, which is just to put a delay in for everything. So let's show you how you do these things. What we can do here is, if I go and create a new email, we've got a few options at the top. All right, if you're looking for where that is, I'm going to send an email to Sam in this scenario again. Poor old Sam's getting picked on. Put some text in it, no problem at all. Right, so up the top in the ribbon, okay, you will find it's not under options, it's not under those things. Under message, you will find the tags, the little arrow at the bottom right-hand corner. You click on that, you'll get a few options, okay? And there's one there that says do not deliver before a set time. So I can set that time. I'm going to set it at 5 o'clock or whatever time I choose, for 4 o'clock, let's say, today. And now when I hit send, that email will just sit in my outbox until 4 o'clock. When 4 o'clock comes, it'll send the email. So Sam's going to get an email later at 4 o'clock randomly. The other way of doing it is to actually just do that, but that only affected that one email. The other way of doing it is for everything I do. So here we go back to that mailbox rules world. This time I'm going to apply a rule on messages I send, not ones I receive. Every message I send. Okay, I don't need to put any settings there because I want it to apply to everything. I'm not filtering here. And it's telling me that you're just going to apply to everything you do. Yeah, no problem at all. And there's a setting there saying defer delivery by number of minutes. So recommendation, 2 minutes. You probably realize you did something wrong within 2 minutes. So click on that, no problem at all. Click next, click finish, go all the way through it. And this rule will apply to every email I send. It will defer it for 2 minutes. And it will sit in my outbox for 2 minutes before it actually gets sent. Okay, no problem at all. So we've now got a mailbox rule in there saying that's what I need to do. So let's go and do a new email. Send it to Sam again. And then we're going to put some subject line in, meeting. And then I'm going to go and put his name in because blindly I've accidentally called him Steve. Okay, so might be a bit upset. Now I have done it before. I'm sure everybody has, but I haven't realised. I was talking to Steve 2 minutes ago. I've just typed Steve in. Oh no, I've hit send. How do I go and get that back? Right, you go to your outbox there, and what we'll find is there's those 2 emails. That first one at the bottom, it's going to go at 4 o'clock tonight. the top one where it says meeting is just sat there waiting. Okay, it hasn't gone yet. It's counting down 2 minutes. And if I get there within 2 minutes, and I can go in, I can do a bunch of stuff that I need to, but ultimately I can delete it. Okay, so I just hit delete and it'll go away. That's it. My email's saved. Okay, so, and I've saved myself the embarrassment of sending someone the wrong email. So, something we get asked all the time. Okay, so that's how you do that. You can either delay the individual email, or you can apply it to every single email that you send and just buy yourself a minute or two before the email actually goes out, so you can realize you've possibly made a mistake. Super. Right, last thing I want to show you really about Outlook. There's loads of hotkeys for all Microsoft stuff. Everyone likes hotkeys, certainly if you're a geeky person like myself. So Control-N, new email, really, really useful. Okay, so that's kind of muck around using your mouse if you're that type of person. Delete is pretty obvious, right? Just hit delete. Forward a message, Control-F, brilliant. Go to calendar, Control-2. And it allows us to nip around Outlook a little bit quickly, a bit more quickly. So I'll leave it on the screen for you to screenshot. Again, that will be up online in the video later on if you want to go and grab it. But ultimately, there are loads and loads of hotkeys available for Outlook and for all the Microsoft tools, but they're probably the most frequently used ones that we use. All right. So hopefully that was useful. We've now got Whiteboard to whip through fairly quickly. So Whiteboard is a tool that you may or may not have used. Okay, now if you use Teams quite a lot and you go to share your screen, you'll notice that you get an option to share your screen 2, Windows, bits and pieces. On the bottom of it, just underneath it, it says Whiteboard. And the purpose of that is because Whiteboard is a collaborative tool. It's no different to a standard whiteboard in many ways, where people come up with a pen and they draw on it and you stick post-it notes on it and you sketch stuff and you draw pictures around it. All the same kind of functionality is there. However, the idea of this is it's digital, it's collaborative. You don't all have to be in the same room. So really think about it as the same thing as a standard whiteboard, hence its name, right? It can do a lot more than a whiteboard because it's digital. So we're going to talk about some of those little bits and pieces that we can expose now. Now, where is Whiteboard? Effectively, same place. Go into apps. Probably isn't at the front. So go into apps. Go to more apps, and then go to all apps if you need to. Scroll down, and you'll find it in Whiteboard. Okay, it's there. You can still get to it through Teams if you've done it before. But if you click on Whiteboard, you'll bring your Whiteboard app up, and you can see here I've got a blank canvas. I need to create a new whiteboard. And the first thing it does is it asks me for templates. There's loads of templates that I've got. I can start with a blank canvas, or I can go through all these settings where I've got kind of layouts for my whiteboard, which are post-it notes in certain locations and tables and bits and pieces. So project planning, learning if you're in the education sector. So I can pick a template or I can start with something blank. This is a stand-up template. You can see here that I've got some post-it notes that are all nicely arranged at the bottom within various buckets. And I can click on those post-it notes and type bits in and type tasks in, and I can move them around, and I can, same as you would do on a whiteboard, lift a sticker off, put it in a different box somewhere on the sticker if you're project planning, if you're brainstorming. And remember, what I'm showing you here is really me using Whiteboard for my own personal purposes. But of course, you can share this whiteboard, and 3, 5, 10, 50 people can all be jumped in there working on this whiteboard and drawing at the same time, whilst you're all having a Teams meeting and having a conversation and brainstorming around this one document. So another point to sort of make is that the whiteboard is zoomable, pinch zoomable. So if you're on a tablet, you can pinch in and out, okay? And it's got no boundaries. It continues to scroll as much as you like. This whiteboard can get as large as you like until it will be so massive that you won't be able to get to anything sensibly. But there's loads of tools at the bottom. So we've got pens and sticky post-it notes. We've got various loop components. So here I'm just throwing in a couple of post-it notes, okay? And if you've got a little bit of OCD like me, you like to make sure those things are the same size. So you click on the post-it note, you get the 4 little bubbles. We can scale these things in and out. And it also shows me who created that post-it note, who did that edit last. So if I'm coming back and I missed a meeting, I want to see what's changed on our brainstorming board, I can hover over something and see who's made a recommendation. We can create pens with different sizes, nibs. We can change their colors. We can then start to draw, do bits and pieces. Obviously, it's a lot easier if you've got a touch device. So if you've got an iPad with a whiteboard app on it, then brilliant. You've probably got a pen, got a surface and whatever. But we've also got the ability to snap to shape. So if I draw a half decent square, Whiteboard will work out and draw on a square, and it'll just make it nice and neat and tidy for me, which is actually quite handy when you're drawing and you're brainstorming in that scenario. Another thing is just bring to front. So we might do that quite a lot where we've got things overlaying other things, and we want to bring this thing in front of it. So that's similar if you used PowerPoint before. So all that functionality is still within Whiteboard, and you'd expect it to be. It's a Microsoft product, right? So all of these tools are the same tools you're going to see in Microsoft Word inside PowerPoint and bits and pieces as well. So let's keep going with this a little bit, just to whet your appetite with what you can do with it. You've also got a timer. So again, education makes sense, doesn't it? If you let's say you're a teacher, you've got the whiteboard up, digital whiteboard. You say, right, everyone, right, class, 5 minutes, all go away, go and do whatever you want to do. I'm going to put a timer on the board. You've got 5 minutes to do your group activity, and when the timer's run down, you'll want to come back. Brilliant, no problem at all. See that used quite a lot in Whiteboard in the education sector, but even in a business environment. Let's say you're going to say, you know, we're brainstorming on this thing. Everybody, we're just going to pause the meeting for 5 minutes. When the timer runs down to 0, we'll jump back in again and carry on. But all of you go away, go and have a tea, cup of tea, go and do whatever you need to do, go and do. Or maybe it's everybody jump on the whiteboard, sketch out your bit. Because you might find that you've got 4 people on a call, you're all brainstorming. Well, one person can be working in this area of the whiteboard, one person can be working in this area of the whiteboard, so on and so on. And then ultimately, you're not kind of working over the top of each other. You come back later, and then you just show off your bits. And that's where Follow Me comes in at the top there. By clicking Follow Me, I can then kind of force everybody else in the whiteboard to come and look at what I'm doing. Their view switches to where I am at on the whiteboard. And then I can talk about what I'm doing, and someone else might choose to go follow me, and everyone's view would be switched over there, because it's such a large canvas to be working on. So time's quite cool, but really what I want to bring in is, if we are working on this, me trying to draw a list, a table with a pen, I haven't got a pen, I've got a mouse. It's all a bit rubbish, if I'm honest. So actually what I can do is bring those loop components back in again. So here I'm choosing to put a table in, I'm choosing to put a task list in. A little bit difficult to select, I've done that deliberately, okay? So you need to click the top of it, and then you'll get the little dots and you can stretch it out. Zoom in and out again, because you can zoom way out and you can zoom in and make things bigger and smaller. And then what we're going to end up with here is just something I can type over very, very quickly. So this is a table, here's a couple of tasks, all right, action 1, action 2. I can name the top of that. And remember, because these are loop components, I can lift this loop component by copying it and paste it into an email and send it to 10 people that have got nothing to do with this list, nothing to do with this whiteboard. It's a brainstorming whiteboard, but actually, I don't want everybody coming in and using the whiteboard, but I want people, and we send an email out, maybe a poll, maybe get some advice, some suggestions. People reply via their email, and then this loop component updates dynamically inside our whiteboard for us, so that when we come back and look at it, we've got all the information that people have been sending in via email or via Teams chat or via a Word document, whatever it looks like. We can also, obviously, it's not just a table, task list here. We can still do all the things we can do with a loop component. I can create tasks, I can assign it to people, I can give deadlines around it, put it in buckets. If I use a task list in a loop component, it's going to assign a to-do to that user. So Sam here at the bottom has been assigned a to-do for task 2 by Sunday the 3rd of November, and I've put it in a marketing bucket to keep it organized. Okay, so if you're trying to draw tables, let's say you're drawing lines with a pen and you want to put a line across the top and you want columns and rows and bits and pieces, recommendation, just go and use a loop component because it's a bit quicker, a bit tidier. Okay, moving on. So next thing is, how do we select stuff? Now we can just do it the way we normally do it. So we can select stuff and hold shift down. I can select multiple items. I can move them around and delete them. There is something called a lasso tool. You've not used that before. So under the pen icon, that allows me just to draw a shape around the things I'm selecting, and that allows me to grab them all and move them all around. Okay, so another thing we get asked a little bit about. Delete rubbers. You've got laser pointers. So again, if I'm in a meeting and I'm demonstrating some of the stuff we're doing, I can use a laser pointer. And then we've got a ruler. And the way that works is that wherever my cursor is on the ruler, it will start to pivot around that point. Okay. So fantastic. Let's go on a little bit. Coming back to that ruler piece, if I wanted to draw a straight line, you can see it's pivoting around my cursor there. And you can do that by kind of hitting the roller on your mouse potentially. It will pivot left and right. If you're on a touch screen, you just kind of use 2 fingers and move it around. But the way this works is that as I draw my pen along the edge of the ruler, it gives me a dead straight line. Okay, so that's the purpose of the ruler. All right, I'm sure we've all used rulers in our lives. It's no different in the digital world, slightly more clunky. Maybe let improve. But what I would say is this is so much easier to do if you do have a touchscreen device and you have a pen. It's then basically a notepad and you can draw all over it. It just becomes a whiteboard. If you're investing in things like surface hubs, which are going on your walls, big tellies, you've got interactive TVs, obviously this just becomes a huge digital whiteboard for you in that scenario. You can stick PDF documents in there. You can highlight those PDF documents. You can put images in there and draw all over them. You can put videos in there. You can put anything you like, all right? Including things like some really basic stuff. So don't forget, you've got things like text boxes. That's a real obvious one. So you don't have to hand write everything. All right, pretty small at the moment, so I make it bigger. Get my spelling right yet again. Change the color, make it bold, italic, whatever you need to do. All right, and you're going to end up with various bits and pieces that you can do in there. There's also things down the bottom like comments and other tasks that we can do. We can stick shapes in. So I drew a circle earlier. What I actually wanted to do, maybe it was just to drag a circle in. I can create arrows. Okay, once I've created an arrow, I can stretch it out, resize it, twist it around, do whatever I need to do. Now, pretty messy whiteboard, isn't it? I haven't really kind of gone down an agenda here, just trying to show you all the tools and bits and pieces that are available inside it. You can put lines around that arrow and borders and bits and pieces, and put text inside the arrow. So you can actually draw quite complicated diagrams using this if you need to. And you obviously got straight lines rather than you drawing by hand. You can do all this stuff by mouse, but I always feel like it's a bit easier, a bit more interesting if you can use a pen. Right, so if you're still with me, I'm very impressed. All right, these are the comments and bits and pieces that are going in, but we'll probably skip through that. Basically, I drag a comment into a section. I can at somebody, mention them. I can put a piece of information against the comment, and the people can come in, hover over it, and show you that I've put a comment in. Again, all back to that sort of collaborative working idea. My suggestion really with Whiteboard is just to go out and give it a go, have a play with it inside your team's meetings, have a play with it in your own environment and see how useful it is to you. And breathe, right? So we've pretty much covered Stream, we've covered Outlook, we've covered Whiteboard. Lots of bits and pieces inside there that hopefully you may have seen, you may have not known how to use. Some of those might be new to you. If they are, that's fantastic. But where do we go and get some more information? Again, lots of this stuff is available on site, on the Microsoft training environment. We're doing these webinars and blogs and bits and pieces all the time to try and really drive up that understanding of how to piece all the different applications inside Microsoft 365 together and how to maximize your use of it so that you're not spending loads of money on other third-party services and apps, which perhaps you don't need to. So if you want to find out more about us, we are absolutely available. We can always come and do these. There's loads of these videos online, so please encourage you to go and look at those. All right. And the last thing, Copilot is always available. All right. So if you don't know what Copilot is, open up Bing, click on the little Copilot icon in the top right-hand corner, and just ask it. Say, how do I draw a line in Whiteboard? Okay. How can I create a mailbox rule to make sure that emails I receive from my boss I respond to saying I'm on it? It will probably give you a pretty good bullet point, step-by-step way of doing it. Okay, so use Copilot. Why not? Obviously, don't use Copilot to email your customers and all the other things that I told you about and all of the other risks that we talked about in the past. Be mindful of AI. Whilst I say use Copilot, be very mindful of it. Okay, so I think we're there. So thank you very much. One other thing just to point out is our next session that we're going to do, not a tips and tricks video, but actually much more tangible, really, really important. It's about strategy. It's about how do you get the most out of building a bit of a roadmap for your technology solution to really drive success within your SME. All right. So we're going to be bringing in our head of strategy. I'll be having a chat with him about some of the ideas and tips that he can offer around understanding how we forecast, how we budget, how we plan for technology. How do we get used to the fact that some of the awful big vendors that I'm going to name and shame them, the VMwares and the Citrixes of this world that suddenly put their prices up, and we're all feeling the pain of that in some capacity, I'm sure. But how do we kind of prepare ourselves for those changes? How do we make sure we're ready? Technology is moving at such a pace. How do we prepare ourselves around what we're doing? How do I forecast that I need to replace some devices? What do we do about warranties? All of that stuff's going to be discussed in the next webinar series. So I encourage you to come and have a look at that. Okay, but we're going to stop there. So if you've got any questions, I encourage you to throw them my way. And and I'll give a go at answering them. So, wow, we've actually got quite a few in there. Fantastic. So, we've got a question here. I have channels and teams and made a new tab called training about 5 years ago. My videos in stream disappear. I think Microsoft have made changes. Adding tabs is effectively adding an app. So you are right. So effectively, when you try and embed something, what you want to do is take within stream. If you just want the one video, go to stream, get the embed code, go to a tab inside Teams, add a website, and put the embed code URL in, and you'll just get that video. As to them deleting them, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm happy. Like, reach out, let us know, and we'll have a look. Absolutely fine. Is it being recorded? Yes, absolutely. It has been recorded. If you jump, just to remind everybody, go to tmtech.co.uk/resources. You'll find all of the previous videos that we've done in there, and including this one, which will be available, I'll lean on marketing team in a couple of days, I assume. Okay, but you'll get an email, the link to it, I'm pretty sure anyway. Is that happening? Yeah, okay, cool. So do the Outlook features work for colleagues and content not in our environment, but they do use 365 in their environment? For example, a loop component for scheduling poll, are they only able to use them? So it will work if they are effectively seen as a guest inside your environment. So you need to share that with them. When you invite them to it, what will happen is they'll be able to log into your 365 environment. They'll be challenged if your policy, which hopefully is in place, but you'll be challenged with multi-factor, or it'll send them an email that they have to kind of get a code off of, put back in again, and they should be able to get into that loop component. So yeah, absolutely. Is additional software needed to be able to freeform draw? Can you select needed or useful software hardware to maximize the freeform capabilities of the whiteboard? So no, so whiteboard is not, so there's various boards out there. So if you're in the education sector, you'll be very aware of like smart boards, Weedon boards, bits and pieces like that. They come bundled with their own software, and they have really precise, excellent kind of notation making and software that's wrapped around the board that you install on the laptop. I think what we're getting at there is whiteboard is a pretty basic whiteboard, right? It allows you to draw squares, draw pictures. If you're in the education sector, it's great for a quick bit of brainstorming. It's great for just drawing some pictures up. But if you're actually getting into drawing decently, you need accuracy. There are probably better bits of software out there, in all honesty. Okay, no problem at all. Any more questions? And in a minute, we've done it within an hour, which is great news. So I think that means if we've got no more, you are welcome, everybody. Thank you very much. I've got lots of thank yous in this. That's very nice of you. Appreciate that. Hopefully you'll come back and join us then for the next one. We're always looking to understand which apps and which services maybe you've heard of that you want me to show you a bit more about and how you use them. Happy to do that. Please just reach out or stick some ideas in this chat by all means, and we will try and cover those in future sessions. But if you're all done, thank you very much. I'll see you later. Someone's just asked, can you signpost where to find the videos? Yes, you'll receive an email, the link in it, but tmtech.co.uk, which is our website. So go to our website, /resources within our website, okay, and you should be all done. Right, thank you very much, everybody. Take care. See you all later.